All right, good morning, everyone. This is Zoology. Today is February 11th. I'm Mr. Sheridan. I hope you're all having a great day. So for today, we are going to add the next step in our presentation of our career readiness unit. So what I'd like for everybody to do is we're going to hang out here for a few minutes and go through a presentation on the importance of a job interview. What are the things that you need to do to prepare for a job interview? What do you need to do during a job interview? And what do you need to do after? So there's a bunch of different sections of this. We're going to go through this presentation relatively quickly. This will be recorded so that you can go back and reference it on YouTube if you would like. Where you can pause and take some more time. Then your assignment for today, once we get through our presentation, I'm going to ask you are going to fill out this piece of paper, which asks a number of different questions that are sample interview questions. And we'll talk more about that as we get going here. But for now, let's run through our presentation and start to talk about our job interview, what that means, what we're looking for when we do a job interview, and so forth. So a job interview is a one-on-one interview consisting of a conversation between a job applicant and employer, which is conducted to assess whether that applicant should be hired. So we're talking about a definition here of the fact that you sent your cover letter and resume in, and that interviewer has decided that your cover letter and resume make you qualified for that position. They'd like to meet and hear more from you. So they're doing a one-on-one, they're setting up a one-on-one conversation that you should, that you can tell them more about why you should be the person that they hire. You need to know yourself. You need to know your career objective that you created in your resume, that one sentence that says something to the effect of, this is why I am applying for this job, and this is my career objective. We're trying to tell that employer how their position fits into your career objective, why it makes sense for both of you to mesh together, to work together in order to meet both of your goals. You need to have all that information on your resume memorized. You need to know your educational background, your work experiences, your ability and skills. If you put it on your resume, you need to be able to rattle that information off. You need to know the employer. When you sit down with someone, if you're not sure about that company, what the position is, if you're doing 14 different interviews in a day and you don't understand you're going to have a really tough time making an impression when you don't understand the people in the company that you're interviewing with. So you need to do that background knowledge. You need to, jump on that crazy Google machine that you all have and make sure that you're researching the company. If it's possible to talk to somebody who has worked there before, that would be great. If you need to understand why you are interested in working for that company. I mean, these are things that when you're applying for these things, if you're just walking in there hoping to get a job, you're going to struggle. So this is the kind of stuff, the background knowledge that you need to know about that company that can really help you as you move forward through the interview even. So, and you need to develop questions, and we're going to talk more about those, that you actually need to be able to ask some questions in an interview if it's going to go well. That's part of a good interview. Is the best interviews I've ever been a part of, and the best in talking with people who have interviewed a lot of folks. The best interviews are ones that seem like conversations where even though they're asking questions, it's a back and forth. It's not a straight, okay, give me the most brief exact answer to that question at all. You're using those questions to tell them about yourself. You're using those questions to help them understand why you would be a great fit, why you would help their company, why you're going to improve their bottom line, why they should be willing to pay your salary because you're going to bring value to the company. So things that you need to do beforehand, prep for the interview. You need to know where these things are going to take place. You need to arrive early. You need to make sure you have plenty of rest and dress for success. When you are applying for a job, you need to dress at least one step above what the normal everyday dress code would be for that job. So for instance, this is my job as a teacher. I would call our everyday dress when we're not on casual Fridays is like a business casual. Therefore, one step up from that would be a suit and tie. Therefore, that's what I should wear if I'm applying to do this job. If you're applying to be a farmhand on a dairy farm, business casual is one step up from the everyday clothes that you're going to wear. So khakis and a decent shirt and a button-down shirt with a collar is an appropriate. So wearing a dress and a super fancy, everything all done to the nines, if you're applying to be a farmhand on a dairy farm, is not appropriate. But one step up from what the everyday clothes that you are going to wear on that job is the way that you should be dressed. So we've already done the research. We know the company. We've done practice mock interviews. That's part of what we're going to do as part of this assignment, is that you're going to prepare some of the answers to the questions that you're going to get. And you need to make sure that you bring extra copies of your resume, cover letter, and your references with you. So we're going to break down the interview process now into 5 different stages. So first is the icebreaker, just trying to get into a little bit of a rhythm, get rid of anytime you're going to walk into an interview, you're going to have some butterflies, you're going to have some jitters. You're going to be a little bit nervous. They're probably going to be a little bit nervous. So the idea is just to kind of get some of that stuff out of the way. We're going to talk about how, local sports teams did. We're going to talk about the weather. We're going to talk about a little bit of stuff just to kind of get us into the flow of things, more than anything, just to talk. But keep in mind that first impression is going to be very important. And this is where we're looking people in the eye. We're in a normal world. This is different now with COVID, but we're looking people in the eye. We would be shaking hands with a good, firm, strong handshake, and smiling, acting like you're happy to be there, even if you're not, are some of the things that can help you when you walk into an interview. You need to know your personal qualifications and interests, and you need to be able to talk about those. So a lot of times the first few questions of an interview are like, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your qualifications. Tell me about your things. So it's kind of the transition from, let's just discuss a few things as we walk into the interview room. Once we sit down, then we're going to say, this is kind of the first step into this. Tell us a little bit about what's on your resume. A lot of times in these interview process, if they're interviewing a lot of people, the first time that they're thoroughly looking through your resume might be while you're sitting in front of them. So you're going to have to run through some of that information off of your resume and cover letter. Third step, we're going to talk about the organization and position. So as you talk about your qualifications, you're going to be relating those to the actual position itself, but they may ask you about the company itself. They may ask you about some of the skills that they are requiring, and that sort of thing. They're going to, this is where, they're going to talk specifically about some of the tasks that you'll be doing and asking you questions about whether you feel comfortable doing those things and that sort of thing. Then the fourth stage. So we're starting to wrap up. So you've gotten a chance to tell them about your qualifications, why you're qualified for the job. They've started to answer or ask, 3, 4, 5 questions about how you would fit in with the culture of the company, how you would fit in this particular job. Now we're getting to the point where they're like, okay, so what questions do you have? And the answer cannot be that you do not have any. That is not okay. And it doesn't make you look very good. So you need to have some questions, and not just like, so what are the next steps? Who do I call next? Your questions need to be specifically about the company. We're not asking questions about, what is if the pay isn't, listed, that might be something to talk about in maybe a second interview, probably not a first interview. Your first interview is going to be more like what the questions that you're going to ask are be like, tell me about the culture of your building. What is it like on an everyday basis? What types of, training are you going to provide for the person who jumps into this position? These are specific questions about the organization that you are applying with, not simply about the process of applying, not about the actual, benefits or pay. These are questions about what that working for that company would be like, because that's what is showing that you're actually interested in being a part of something and not just trying to pull a paycheck. And then you're going to close and follow up. Same thing that goes for introductions, eye contact, smiles, good, firm, strong handshakes when we're allowed to. And this is a big one here. Make sure that we are sending thank you notes within 24 hours. It's nice to hear back as someone who is interviewing people to do a job that, they're thanking them for their time, thanking them for the chance to interview, enjoying the conversation. Probably should write something about what happened in the actual interview, something, if it was something that made you both laugh, it was something that you connected with, if it was something that, that you're, very excited about the opportunity and all that good stuff, something like that. But you need to send them something within the first 24 hours. So again, we mentioned this a few times early. These are just tips for, if you're going to have a successful interview. The best interviews are a conversation. It's a two-way process where you're asking the interviewer questions, they're asking you questions. You would never give a yes or no question. Even if you led with that, even if they ask a yes or no question, you're going to elaborate and try to give them some feedback. You are going to have a few of your qualifications or skills that you want to highlight. And after that yes or no, you can go into highlighting one of those things and why it would pertain to this particular job. Listening is a wonderful conversation tool that we all should get better at, me included. And when you do listen carefully, it allows you to, number one, answer the actual question that they ask, so that you don't go off on some tangent that they didn't ask about, and then you can respond accordingly. So we're going to use specific examples, and the interview begins the second that you walk onto that company's property. If you are, walking around and you're still doing your tie and you're tucking your shirt in and you're doing all this stuff as you're walking into the building, people see that stuff. So you've got to make sure that as soon as you jump out and you're in the parking lot, you're ready to go. You are locked in and ready. A few more tips here. You need to put yourself in the position of the employer. Think what they would want in a candidate for this position. This is a big one that I think that some people get into a little bit, that they'll start to criticize. If you have a past employer, there's a common question would be, why did you leave your last position, or why are you interested in leaving the position that you're in right now? You can answer those questions without criticizing past employers or coworkers. Even if you're at a place that is a lousy place to work, it doesn't do you any good at all to badmouth the place that you're working or people that you have worked with. Things like, it's not a great fit. I don't love the culture that we've established over there, and I'm looking for a more positive environment where we can where everybody's working together. Those are things that you can say without saying that my boss was a what, and they went on and on and on about all this other stuff. It turns that experience very negative, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So you need to be aware of inappropriate questions. If they are asking you specific questions about you personally that you aren't comfortable answering, or that are just flat inappropriate, you don't have to answer them. And it's okay if you say that you're not comfortable answering that question. And if you are being interviewed by somebody who would think that is a negative on your part, you don't need to work there anyway. So you need to be aware that there are some people that are going to ask some inappropriate questions that will, that there's some people that think that maybe asking something like that's, inappropriate or unprofessional might, throw you off your game a little bit. You need to be prepared for that, and just, understand that you don't have to answer questions that are inappropriate, but you need to be professional. There's a way to do that in a way that isn't insulting or makes you look unprofessional. You need to, so if the employer starts to use curse words, if the employer starts to isn't dressed appropriately or something like that, you still need to maintain your professionalism as you're going through this interview process. So you're going to run through, the more interviews you do, you'll be able to prepare for more unexpected experiences, but you need to make sure that that we're well groomed. Be aware of body language. So if you start to you're trying to read the other person that's asking questions as we're going through this. So after the interview is over, we're making sure that this is a super important one. We've talked about the other two. You need to make sure that if you tell them that you're going to follow up within 24 hours, that you do that. And you need to write down, you need to have a place to take some notes. I would recommend that you bring in some sort of a portfolio that has a blank piece of paper on it that you can write some notes if necessary. You also need a place to carry extra copies of your resume, cover letter, and references. So you can hand those to them if necessary. So they make all kinds of professional portfolios that you can put all of those things in, that have a nice spot for a legal pad that you can make some notes, so that you can, if that employer says, okay, by the 10th of February, we're going to tell you, we're going to follow up with all the candidates. And if they don't, then on February 11th, you can call them and say, I didn't ever heard anything. I'm, just following up, making sure that everything is hunky dory. Okay. So remember that that you're trying to sell yourself. So in a professional way, you need to be, pumping yourself up and making sure that they understand, the person who's interviewing you understands that you have a passion for their work, that you want to be on their team, and you're ready to go. So what I would like for you to do is take some of those tips, and I would like for you to answer these questions. These are going to be due at the end of the day tomorrow. So you're going to have today and tomorrow to work on these. I want these to be thorough, thought through answers. And I want these to be something that these are examples of job interview questions that are out there. You'll notice that number 8 is actually, I want you to list 2 questions that you would ask an employer about the position that you are interviewing for. So through this whole process, we've adapted our cover letters and resumes for a specific position or internship or whatever it is that you are applying for. In that same light, you need to be able to come up with a couple of questions that you are going to ask back if this was an interview. So there's a bunch of different situations that you're going to come into in here, but I want you to tell these stories. I'm giving you a couple of days of class time to do this. So these are not yes or no answers. These are not one word or one sentence answers. I want you to be thorough here, read through these, and be thorough like you're actually in a job interview. So with that, I'm going to leave you to go work on those. I hope that you all have a great day, and I will see you back here again tomorrow. See you later.
Thank you.
Yep. Have a great